I thought you had agreed not to contact me again about this.
You lied to me.
About?
About Chester Ray Banton. You knew who he was, and you used me to lead you to him.
You were the one who contacted me, Agent Mulder.
I won't be your stalking horse, or the government's.
You seem to be mistaken about the amount of control you exercise over this arrangement.
Who do you answer to?
Despite my loyalty to my predecessor, I've never made you any promises.
All right, promise me something right now. Promise me this will be our last meeting. We're finished.
You're choosing a dangerous time to go it alone, Agent Mulder.
Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Chex, I'm joined as ever by Luke, my loyal co-host.
I feel like you're getting a lot more formal with these. Like, we're sort of melding into one another.
Yeah. Or maybe we're just getting a bit more professional as the podcast.
I wouldn't say that.
No.
Yeah.
We've got a lot less professional.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I was going to say, usually now it takes us 5 minutes to veer off into something wildly inappropriate. So,
Which, basically that's the synopsis of the show. On my show notes, I have veer off into something wildly inappropriate as the second point. So,
that's pretty good.
Good look forward to that.
Yeah.
If you want to hear professionalism, go back to some of our first episodes. They're really quite formal.
Quite formal. Not a lot of laughs.
No laughs.
I mean, to be fair, you might listen to this now and think, still not any laughs.
Where's the laughs?
Don't know what they're talking about.
I mean, we laugh a lot in the show, so that's good. Hopefully people laugh along with us.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Imagine if people just are laughing at us.
Well, a laugh's a laugh, you know what I mean, in my experience.
So, we've just had a disaster. Right before recording.
Bringing it up on air.
Yeah, you didn't think I'd bring this up, did you?
Yeah.
So,
but you'll have to post the picture when it goes
yeah, I'll
out.
post the picture. So, we were setting up, ready to record, and my partner, Jem, has got this beautiful glass oil burner that she brought back from Egypt about 8 years ago. What happened when you tried to move it, Luke?
I slightly nudged it as I was creating a stack of books to put the mic on, and the nudge knocked it flat and it smashed.
It did smash, yeah.
Into two pieces. I mean, it was repairable until I found out you didn't have any super glue, and then I was like, oh,
it's done.
It's done.
It's over. We can't buy super glue.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we're off to a bad start, but it can only get better from here. And on that note, do you want to tell me how your week's been?
It's been good, actually.
It's
been better than
better than that.
Than that, yeah. That was a low point of my week.
Tell me some of the high points.
Well, I've done a lot this week. This is the first week in a long time where I don't just say, I've not been up to that much, to be honest. This week, I went to the cinemas.
Oh.
I went to see Us.
Oh, okay. How was it? Oh, that didn't sound good. See, I'll put some of my...
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
So that's why I'm just going to put it out there right now. I do really want to see it. I really enjoyed Get Out.
Yeah.
Obviously, which is Jordan Peele director.
Yeah.
Both of those. So, really enjoyed Get Out. Really want to see it. Looks really creepy.
Yeah.
So but you don't seem too happy with it.
So the film itself, I thought, was okay. Like, it's a decent enough film. I think the story itself, it didn't have as much to say as Get Out did. Get Out had quite a powerful message at the end of the
definitely.
film. This was a bit more muddled, and when you got to the end of it, you were a bit like, okay, like, it felt like they threw a lot at you, but no clear...
So I hope something sticks.
Yeah, so it felt like that. There's a lot left unanswered as well by the ending. But overall, I thought it's quite good, and it did have some twists in there which I didn't expect.
Does it work as a horror? Or a thriller, maybe?
Now, this is where I'm not sure, because I went to the cinemas to see it a few weeks after it came out. Mm-hmm. So I imagine like the die-hard horror fans went for that, the initial showings. We went, about a week or week and a half after it came out. And throughout it, there were people laughing at everything.
Okay.
It's not that funny. There's laughs in it, don't get me wrong. There's comedic parts. But there was people laughing throughout at everything. I don't know if it was nervous laughing.
Yeah, but it
Or
sort of just
it
kills the atmosphere.
All of the tension was sucked out because everything that they did. Okay, there's one part, then it's not spoiling it because you can imagine this is what happened. There's a part where a guy smacks another guy round the head with a baseball bat. No, like, laughter about it. There's no joke. Yet the person who was sat, like, to the back of the cinema was absolutely howling at this.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay.
Just kills any tension.
And this sort of encouraged the guy who was sat next to me to become a comedian to his girlfriend.
Oh, God.
He was quite reserved at the start, and then all of a sudden, everything that happened, he just kept making comments about it. And I felt my fists clench at one point. Not that I was going to hit him.
No.
But I was just like so mad. I was just like, shut up. Just shut up. I'm trying to watch this film. So all of like the horror elements of it, I felt were ruined by the actual audience. And there was other stuff as well that was going on in cinema. But I think me and Tash both came out of it and said that was probably nothing like that they did. Like, we've been to cinema showings where like people have been throwing food and shit around.
Yeah.
But this was the worst experience in the cinema I've had because they didn't mean to be dicks about it. You know what I mean? No one was like,
they were just enjoying the film their own way, which was a terrible way to enjoy a film.
It made me really reconsider ever watching a horror film in the cinema.
Yeah, you know what? We've actually today booked tickets to go see Avengers when it comes out. Obviously, we need to pre-book those, and we've decided to go to sort of, I suppose you'd call it a sort of a more what would you call it? Like a
boutique,
cinema? Premium cinema, I suppose. Yeah. It's just, it costs a little bit more.
Do you know what though? It doesn't cost that much more.
No, it doesn't. And you know what?
£3 extra.
And it puts off people like that.
Yeah.
Because you tend to have the audience that are there. It tend to be the audience that really want to go see the film. And there's this it's the oldest cinema in the UK. It's called the Electric, and I absolutely adore it. And again, I don't have a preference between the two that we're going to see, but the Electric in particular shows old movies. Never had a problem with the audience in there because it's just a lot of people who are. It's usually film students, if I'm honest. And it's people that just genuinely want to enjoy the film, and they do clap at the end, which I'm not too happy with, but I can deal with that, you know what I mean?
I feel like that's an English version, though. Any type of like applause or celebration, we're like, what are you doing?
Enjoy it silently.
It's weird. That happened recently with us. We went to see a Marvel film, and there was a bit with a Stan Lee sort of...
cameo.
Well, not even just the cameo.
Oh no, it was the start, wasn't it?
At the beginning, it's sort of like a homage tribute to him. And the entire cinema started clapping. And I found this really puzzling because I understand the sentiment, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just felt like none of his family are here.
No, I know.
None of the, anyone who would respect this are here. Why are you doing this? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's a cynical side of me.
I think it is. Yeah, and you know what? Yeah. And it's the same as me. Yeah. The only time I've ever clapped at something like that is when a plane lands.
You do it to be annoying, though.
But I do it ironically. Well, here's the thing. I started doing it ironically to get a laugh from the people I was with. And now I just do it. It just became one of those things.
That tends to happen. Me and Tash used to say, these like lovey-dovey words and stuff to each other, like people say like "bay" and stuff like that. We didn't say that, but, we started doing that as a joke, and now we just say it normally. And it's like, how did this happen?
It's just one of your life, doesn't it?
Yeah, but yeah. So it did put me off a bit, but I do think it's one of those where if you want to go to a film and not have it like sort of spoiled by an audience, you either wait till it's wait till you can watch it on your own at home. Or go to like a premium cinema where people are just silent.
I completely agree with that. Yeah,
but
we've got a nice little mini review right out the bat.
Yeah, again, don't take that as it's a bad film. I would still recommend to watch it because it's an interesting sort of story.
Yeah,
and it does have interesting messages, but I just didn't think it was as strong as.
And it's a tough act to follow.
That's the thing. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, from that little mini review, should we get on to the review of this week's X-Files episode?
So yeah.
Fantastic. So this week, we'll be looking at Season 2, Episode 23 of The X-Files, entitled Soft Light. What did you think this was about?
Well, I thought it was going to be another Alien episode just simply because it had light.
Light, I think we mentioned that last episode, didn't we?
I really didn't have a clue, to be honest.
No, I didn't really either, and it's definitely not what I thought either.
No, definitely.
So, it originally aired on May the 5th, 1995. It was written by Vince Gilligan, the first time he's written for the X-Files. I believe he becomes a regular writer.
Quite a famous name as well.
And it was directed by James A. Contner. Should we get straight into it?
Yeah.
Let's get straight into it. So, we start at the George Mason Hotel in Richmond, Virginia. We see a guy, we find out his name's Patrick. He sits on his bed and he's basically having a bit of scotch. He's reading the papers. And we see a guy outside exit the elevator. Now, I'm just going to go through the names now. We find out his name is Dr. Banton, Dr. Chester Banton. Immediately, as soon as I saw him, I thought this guy's an alien because he's the guy from Men in Black, isn't he?
Is he Men in Black? Oh.
Yeah, he's the guy with the tiny head.
Please don't.
What? Oh, no, we're not going down a Tommy Lee Jones wormhole again. Don't you worry about that. But he is from Men in Black.
He is. Yeah.
Which also stars Tommy Lee Jones, one of the best actors in the world.
And this concludes our Tommy Lee Jones mention of the week.
I've got to get one in every episode. So yeah, do you remember him? He's the guy that owns that sort of illegal gun shop.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him.
Yeah. Oh, at least if it's not him, it looks a lot like him. And I didn't do my research, but
I'm going to assume.
I'm pretty sure it's him. So yeah, he seems really nervous. He's like sweating, keeps looking over his shoulder. So he walks down the hallway and he starts knocking on a door. And he's shouting at the guy inside. And obviously this guy is sat on his bed. But we realise that he's not knocking on that guy's door. He's knocking on the door across the hall.
Opposite from him, yeah.
However, it does stir the man. And he goes to have a look through the sort of peephole. And as Dr. Banton walks backwards, his shadow goes underneath the door and touches the feet of this man. And he just falls. Yeah.
It's a very weird effect, and it's
very strange
90s like.
Well, let me explain how the effect works. I don't know. I'm assuming everyone who's listening to this will have watched the episode, but just in case, it's like the shadow has this like the CGI effect where it's like this sort of almost like a vortex-like feel to it, and then you get an immediate cut to the upper half of their body as they fall.
Yeah.
You don't see them go into it really.
Yeah,
you just see them
disappear.
fall.
Yeah.
So yeah, he falls into this shadow.
It's strange because this one pretty much gives away what the plot's going to be right at the beginning. Like you know from then. Oh, it's an evil shadow, basically. Yeah. So you get the gist of the episode from then. It's just figuring out how we got to that point.
I think it's difficult to do this episode without that because how do you if you don't add this in straight away, you've got to try and make a shadow an intimidating object, and without showing what it's actually doing, it's hard to do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Anyway, Banton panics as soon as this happens. It does also char the floor where he dropped through. So he immediately unscrews the light bulb, obviously stopping his shadow from appearing, and basically runs away from the hallway. And we go into the title screen. So yeah, like you said, very interesting. I do always find it fascinating how they deal with Monster of the Week, because what do you prefer? Do you prefer to know what the monster is straight away, or do you prefer that slow build up where you figure it out?
I think I like the mystery of it more. Like so you don't know what it is initially, and then
sort of like the Flute Man.
Yeah. I think I prefer that, but this isn't a bad way to do it. It's just a different way to do it. So yeah, I didn't have any issues with this, and I thought it was quite good that they just went into it straight from the off, I suppose. But again, like you said, I don't think there's any other way to do this kind of story.
Yeah, and it's definitely unique.
Yeah.
It's definitely a unique sort of tale to tell. So we arrive with Scully and Mulder at this point. They arrive on the scene. And Scully tells Mulder that there's been several incidents in the past similar to this. She also mentions that the officer on the case is Detective Kelly Ryan. He used to be a student of Scully's from the academy, and it's her first case on the job. So she's asked for her assistance, Scully's assistance.
Yeah. I did quite like that we get a bit of, not backstory, I guess, but sort of like a link to their past. I do like when they do this and they sort of involve people who we've not met yet who are... It's a good way to introduce a character, even if it's a one-off character.
It's definitely a one-off, which is what surprised me, because I felt going into this character had potential for a recurring character, do you know what I mean? Yeah. That might be, and I've only just thought of this now, but I might as well sort of follow it down and see where it leads. That might be one criticism I have of this show. In everyday life, they must come into contact with so many different people. You don't see many of them. Like, none of them stick around. None of them become a recurring character. And even if it is just like, I think it would help build the world a little bit more if you had, I don't know, a desk clerk that's sort of John that they walk past every day and they share a bit of a joke with. Do you know what I mean? Just build the world by having the sort of smaller characters give a bit more personality.
Sort of like Gunther from Friends.
Yeah, I suppose so, I mean, the thing is, it's difficult to sort of compare it, because if you look at something like today's standards, where it's like Game of Thrones, where every character has a personality and has a story of their own, and it almost feels like you could just replace the background characters with cardboard cutouts in this show.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
You know, like, we did these mini episodes, the character bios, last week, and they were pretty much the only characters that you need to know. Yeah. Because every other character is expendable.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
even if they're slightly recurring, like the psychologist that sort of helped them in. See, that is like quite a role that you could, if it was somebody else, it wouldn't have mattered really.
No, exactly. It's just an interesting thought. I don't know whether I'd like it better or not, but I do feel like it would add a little bit more to the world if they did have more. But again, just an observation. You never know; they might go down that route in the future seasons.
True, yeah.
So yeah, she's asked for help on this first case of hers. They do mention that they don't think her superior would be quite happy with her getting the FBI involved, which. Yeah, I can see why. It does seem like a bit of an overreaction for a missing person case. So Detective Ryan tells them that the most recent victim works for Morley Tobacco, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the brand that Cigarette Smoking Man uses.
I think it is actually. Yeah. I didn't even pick up on this.
I picked up on it straight away because I thought to myself, cigarette smoke. As soon as they said tobacco factory, and I was like, Morley's that's not a brand, but I think. A lot of time in the shows, they make up their own brands for cigarettes, don't they? Yeah. I know Quentin Tarantino does it a lot in his films.
I think definitely with cigarettes, you can't advertise them.
No, exactly. So, and then I thought, I'm pretty sure that I noticed that on the pack of cigarettes, but it's just because I like Quentin Tarantino. Well, I don't like the guy, but I like his films. I just pick up on stuff like that, where as soon as I saw the cigarette pack that Cigarette Smoking Man had, I noticed it.
Did you notice the reference to tombs in this?
I did, with the vent. Yeah, I love that.
Sort of what you were saying earlier about them not having like a growing world, I suppose. Yeah. This is the one step towards it I did like, where they sort of reference past cases, and I think they should... I don't know if they do going forward, but I think they should do this more.
They definitely should, because... It adds to the story. Like, they've faced something horrific like this before. Do you know what I mean?
Because, it's Scully's first sort of instinct is to check that, and he'd be like, oh, understandable, like, after what they've seen.
And Mulder's knowing glance, you'd be surprised. I loved it. It was great. But so anyway, Detective Ryan's carrying on telling them. She says he'd been discovered missing at 6 a.m. He was supposed to go to a meeting that day. He asked for a wake-up call. Obviously never answered. Doors and windows were locked from the inside, and Ryan then shows them the remains, which is just a charred circle, which Mulder notes that has a sort of what looks like a hand coming from it, like a hand shape, should I say.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
And he doesn't say that, well, if that was the case, if it is a hand, then he would have been looking through the peephole. So what was he looking at? So he goes outside and he notices that the bulb has been unscrewed, so they've got something to search prints for. Definitely
the right people to go to ask for advice.
Yeah, and again, it's that typical thing that Mulder sort of his hunches are always spot on. Yeah, and they know exactly where to look. He sent it off with Detective Ryan to get the prints scanned, while Mulder and Scully continue without her. Scully asks if Mulder's blaming spontaneous combustion because this is sort of where he's with the arm thing. That's sort of what he was alluding to. And they discuss that Mulder says it's not uncommon. Well, it's not that it's not uncommon, but it's been known.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of case files with it. It basically just cells just erupt and they've set on fire without any heat or any source of burning. So yeah, they go back and forth on that a little bit, and then they end up going to a previous missing person with similar circumstances. And it's the residence of Margaret Wisniewski, I want to say.
I think that is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this. But yeah, she was again, similar circumstances, went missing before. Mulder notes that the lamp outside, in a sort of hanging lamp from in her garden, has also been unscrewed. Notices that it's a bit of a coincidence that both of them had the same aversion to light, I suppose.
Yeah.
So he screws it back in and lights up the house, and as they enter, they find a patch on the floor very similar to what was in the hotel room. And Scully notes that Margaret was employed by Laramie, another tobacco company. They question whether it's, again, another coincidence, but Mulder mentions that half this state are working for cancer sticks, he says. So it literally could just be a coincidence and doesn't mean anything. So yeah, they go on to discuss the first victim a little bit more. The first victim was Gail Ann Lamberg. She was an engineer for Polarity Magnetics. And Mulder digs through Wisniewski's trash and finds a train ticket with an arrival date for the same day that she had disappeared. So Mulder suggests that this might mean they're being hunted and they've got a place to go now to search for who's hunting them. Yeah, it was an interesting one, this one, because throughout the start of this, it just felt like they threw a lot at you. And because we watched 2 episodes at a time, so like we've watched this episode and we've also watched the next episode now for next week's recording. Yeah, I felt like they both had similar problems with that. I felt like it all got a little bit convoluted at the start.
I watched them in reverse because obviously I take the notes on the second one. And yeah, I did. It was surprising how similar they were when I was watching them back, especially when I was watching back this, and I was like, this is like being like a week apart from one another. You'd have thought that they might have spaced these out because they're quite. The premises are quite, or the way they find out about the mysteries.
I'd say that was more. Yeah. The thing is, I just feel like maybe this is their way, because they've shown you what it is straight off the bat. Maybe this is their way of trying to create a mystery in the sense of they throw loads of different theories at you. But I just find it muddles things up because I spent the rest of the episode looking for how that relates to anything else going forward. Yeah. And it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, does the tobacco company come into it at all?
Not really, no.
But they made such a big deal out of it in the first...
I think maybe that's just like meant to... Well, obviously we know the mystery, but I guess maybe that was put in there to throw off Mulder and Scully. Yeah. But I didn't see the point when the audience already knows that that's not a thing. So, yeah, it is a bit weird, but I don't know.
There's just a note that I thought, and looking back on it, I thought the beginning was just a little bit too... It was too hectic for me, anyway. We go now to Banton, and he's, again, looking very nervous, looking dishevelled. And he's at the train station, he's just on a bench. And constantly looking on the floor, he's looking for shadows. We know that. But by the looks of it, it's a well-lit train station. Yeah. From what we later learn it to be soft light. Now, I had no idea what soft light is. I still don't, to be honest.
I think it's probably like... I guess it's sort of like a filming term or something like that, maybe. Or
I think it's light that I don't know. It's light that doesn't create shadows. That's what I gathered from it.
Yeah, I think basically, yeah.
But yeah, he walks away from the bench. He's smoking a cigarette, and he enters the alleyway at the back of the train station, and a light flickers as he walks past. Again, not really sure why the light's flickering. Because he doesn't have a power to make lights go off, does he?
No, I think that's just
a coincidence, maybe.
It's a coincidence, and he sort of knows that that's a danger, I guess.
Well, police car rolls up, and when the officer gets out, he runs. He legs it, and he gets rounded off by another police car coming in the same direction. He tries to get away. He ends up going into like this sort of really dark corner of an alley. As you can imagine, the police are a little bit suspicious. He tells them as much that he tells them that I'm dangerous.
Yeah.
So they both
Probably not the best wording to use, really.
All the way through that, I was like, just tell them about the shadow.
Yeah.
Like, I know they're not going to believe you at the start.
Yeah.
But in the first officer, as soon as he falls through, the second officer's going to believe you, isn't he? You know what I mean? So
okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But he doesn't. He tells them he's dangerous. They ignore him. They tell him to come out. And as he's backing away from one of the officers with a gun, he ends up inadvertently walking and putting his shadow on the other officer. Mm-hmm. And he falls straight through into this vortex. Yeah. I'm going to call it a vortex because I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, pretty much. They sort of mentioned later on that it's sort of like a black hole, didn't they? Or something. Yeah. And so I guess that's our best assumption.
Yeah, basically. The second officer is obviously freaked out. He walks towards him, also stands in the shadow, straight onto the floor. Banton looks absolutely terrified. He legs it. He runs away.
He should stay at home.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he does try and stay in this train station, doesn't he? Maybe he's got family at home.
Yeah, maybe. And they sort of imply that he's been hunted as well, so I guess he can't stay at home.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
The next day, Mulder and Scully and also Detective Ryan investigate the scene, and Ryan's distressed because she thinks that she's sent these police officers. And now she's become responsible for a cop killer.
Yeah.
Which is the last thing you want on your first case, to be honest.
Yeah, in very hot water.
Yeah. She also does tell Mulder about the fingerprints and that they had no match for any of the hotel employees or the criminal database. And Scully asks, well, are you willing to share your theories with us now, Mulder? And he refuses. He basically just says, not just yet, no.
I don't understand why he does this all the time. He doesn't tell them until it's like, oh, somebody else has died because of it. And it's like, just tell them at the beginning.
I tell you why, because he's dramatic.
Yeah,
he wants to make a big show of it.
I understand for the programme, it makes more sense that he doesn't tell them, but as an FBI agent, he should probably say, I have a hunch. It might be
especially when your hunches are as right as his are.
Yeah, exactly.
Mulder suggests looking at the train station security videotapes, as they have 3 deaths. They can cross-reference all 3 of them and try and find a similar person in all 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Which doesn't end up happening. They just end up finding a creepy-looking dude and they just get it guessed right. But,
pretty much.
You know. So basically they find nothing for a while, but then Mulder points out him sitting on the bench, notices that he's acting strangely, he's looking at the floor a lot. And he also uses a supercomputer.
Oh, yeah.
To zoom in. Oh, I hate this. I know I mention it every time, but it's so stupid. It's the worst image in the world. And they zoom in and it becomes crystal clear.
Yeah. Try that on your iPhone.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
exactly.
your Android phone. We don't discriminate.
I've got Android, you've got Apple, so.
And the computer is Linux, so we're all over the shop.
Is there any brands that we don't endorse? What's that new one? The one that everyone's going crazy about? The Hawaii? Is that Hawaii?
Yeah, that's Android as well.
Oh, is that Android as well?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just cheaper, I think, then.
I've heard it's quite good. So after this, I was going to say hickory pickory, but it's not. What's the phrase? Hokery pokery?
I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say.
It's like magic.
Higgery
jiggery? Hickory jiggery? Is that that does not sound right.
None of these sound like actual
But you know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're trying to say, but
hickory pickory jiggery? Hickory. After this hickory pickory jiggery. Hickory.
Piggery tiggery.
Piggery diggery liggery.
Now we sound like... Do you know in like Family Guy when they try and make English people say weird sentences? We've just jumped into that stereotype.
We've wrote it for them.
Yeah.
We zoom in on his jacket, on his jacket, and we see the words polarity magnetics, which we know that was where the first victim worked as well. So we have a common thread. Scully and Mulder immediately go to this place to investigate, and it appears to have been closed down.
Did you notice their shot initially when they first go to this place? You see their shadows on the wall moving first, and then then they come into shot. I was like, oh,
that's
I like
clever.
That. I like that.
That's clever. I like that. Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't notice that, because I was watching shadows throughout this episode, and I was just like, because you just do, don't you? And I was thinking, God, it'd be a nightmare. Like, you never know where your shadow is, do you?
Yeah, I can see yours right now. This lights.
What are the rules to this? Stop making hand puppets. We're recording, Luke.
Look, there's my shadow.
Yeah, I can see your shadow, but no one stood there. What are the rules to this? How come objects don't fall into the black hole?
Maybe it's only like living matter, like organic matter, because he sort of implies that it's got some kind of sentience to it.
Oh, okay.
Or some kind of like, well, he sort of says it's some presence that he's got trapped in it.
Yeah, because he does go on to mention that if he dies, it might take a life of its own.
Yeah. So maybe there's some kind of, I don't know, sort of like mirror. This is going to sound like sci-fi bullshit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
There's a mirror universe that's a dark universe, and maybe that's...
Oh, okay.
Who knows?
I mean, with black holes, you can literally just write whatever you want, because no one knows anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, this place appears to have been closed down, like I said, and they meet Bantam's business partner, who we find out is Christopher Davey. Davey tells him that Bantam's been missing for 5 weeks. He actually assumed that he might have died.
Yeah. Just assumed. He's probably dead.
Well, they do pull him up on this and say, really? Like, why? What happened? And he mentioned it was shortly after the accident. So he goes on to tell them what the accident was, and he explains to them that polarity magnetics, they invent things related to magnetics, basically, but that's just their main income.
Yeah, that's their breadwinner, basically.
Yeah, that's what they use to fund Bantam's actual passion, which is matter and sort of
theoretical science, I suppose.
Yeah, looking into dark matter and subatomic particles. And David tells them of what happened the last time he saw him. Bantam had been working with this a mini particle accelerator, which is basically you bombard an alpha particle target. I've written all this down. Bombard an alpha particle target with beta particles.
This is exactly what he says as well. Yeah. I remember.
And basically the countdown had begun on this experiment that he'd done, and he gets locked in. He goes in because he realizes something's missing, and then Davy's running the test, and as he realizes it's too late before he can do anything, but he realizes the Bantam's locked in there, and he goes over to the door to look at him, and he says that he's just stood there almost in a calm, tranquil state. Yeah. And then when they got him out of the room, his shadow was left behind, and that's all. It was like burnt into the wall. A lot like you see it. You've seen it like Pompeii and Hiroshima. You can get like shadows burnt into things.
Yeah, if there's a strong enough like light or something. This origin story is pretty much bang on the same origin story as Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen.
Is it really?
Yeah.
See, it's been so long. I've watched Watchmen, and I haven't read the comics. It's been so long, I barely remember anything about it.
I always remember that scene that, he's sort of in this same kind of chamber, and he gets hit with these, like, I think it's a subatomic particle, like, accelerator. It does the same thing, but with him, it, like, with Dr. Manhattan, it strips him, like, apart, like, atom by atom, and then he builds himself back together. But it just, when I was watching, I was like, this is pretty much exactly the same, like how it did it.
Well, it's interesting because they do go on to sort of explain why it didn't strip him apart. They go on to say that, well, Davey theorises that Bantam wasn't harmed in any way because the particles had no mass, and basically they passed through his body without taking chunks out of him.
Yeah.
He describes it as an X-ray, but a very, very powerful X-ray, I suppose. So Scully goes to have a look inside this chamber, and she notes that the burnt wall is very similar to what they found, the scorch marks that they found in the hotel room and the alley.
Yeah.
And Mulder admits that he's not quite convinced that it's human combustion anymore, which I'm not surprised, because you've just found out that it's definitely not human combustion.
I know, yeah. That's... It's one of those, like, you know, when somebody says, I've figured out the mystery in this film, and you're like, wait a tick, it's just happened. we all figured it out. That happened in Us, actually. There's a. I won't say what happened, but at the very beginning of the film, they explain something, and then later on, something happens related to that. And the guy who sat next to me went, "Oh, it's like the thing from the beginning." And I was like, "Yeah, mate, we know. Like, everyone in the cinema knows this." Anyway, I feel really angry. Like, you know, I should let it go.
That's the problem with cinemas, though. It really is. I know what you mean. Yeah. I hate children at cinemas. Oh, I hate it. If you've got, I'm not being funny, but if you've got a below 1 year old and you're taking them to the cinema, just don't. Yeah. Just don't. Just leave them at home. Yeah. Because I know you've got to, like, not everyone can get a babysitter, and you know they're allowed to have. But again, it just ruins the film for everyone if they start crying, and they never take them out. Like, or they do, but they take 20 minutes to try and calm this baby down first. Oh, and it's real pet peeve of mine.
Also, you think, why bother? Because like the kid's not watching this.
No,
like
you're not enjoying it because you're just getting embarrassed.
Yeah, and you're watching probably a film that you brought because it's kid friendly.
Yeah.
So you're probably like, I didn't even want to see this anyway.
To be fair, he's saying that, I'm pretty sure the one I went to see was Final Destination.
What?
Yeah. Who
Who takes a 1-year-old to see Final Destination?
Well, I mean, the 1-year-old's not going to take anything in it, are they?
I mean, I know, but still. That's... Yeah. That now you've got... Well, you're well within your rights.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I was like 14 at the time of this, so...
To be fair, if it was like, I don't know... Disney's Dinosaur.
Yeah, if you've gone to see a Pixar film, then you cannot get annoyed at the fact that there's kids there making noises.
If anything,
cheering or crying or whatever.
If anything, you're not the target.
No, exactly. Yeah, you can enjoy it as much as the next guy, but you've got to expect that there's going to be children there, and that comes with the noise that children make. But
anything above a PG, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, just don't, please, for me.
For what? Well,
for the world.
Just for you, yeah. Now you're just being selfish.
So back to the X-Files.
I'm going to have to look at our numbers now, see if we get a drop off. God damn it, we lost all the parents.
Imagine, that'd be amazing. I mean, it wouldn't, but you know. Mulder and Scully return to the train station, and they're looking for Bantam. They can't find him. And Mulder goes to the spot where Bantam is sitting in the video. And Scully, and he's sort of looking at the floor, trying to figure out what he was staring at. Scully suggests that the accident may have affected his mind and caused him to, well, basically just sort of, what she says here is go into sort of this repetitive behaviour, which is why he's at the train station every day.
Yeah.
But Mulder interrupts, and he has a theory. He thinks that he comes to the train station because it has no shadows due to the soft light.
Yeah, I was like, the episode title.
It makes sense. At this point, Bantam actually walks in, notices that the agents are there, the agents notice him, and he runs. Both of them give chase, and he ends up catching up with them. And Mulder's about to step into Bantam's shadow, but Bantam tells him it doesn't get. He basically says, "Stop! Don't come near me." The same gimmick that he gave to the police officers. Don't come near me. But he goes further. He says it doesn't care who you are. It will kill you. And as Scully walks towards him, sort of Mulder looks at the shadow. She almost steps in it, and Mulder shoots out the light. Yeah. Very dramatic. He could have just said to her to stop.
Very Splinter Cell. This was. I thought he was like a crack shot. He just took both the lights out. Yeah.
So he shoots out 2 light bulbs, and Bantam sort of almost like deflates how relieved he is. But like, why did you run? You was in soft light. If you're that,
does it work the other way as well? Because obviously he's in soft light, so it doesn't create a shadow. But if he's in a really dark place, arguably a shadow is, I don't know, because like
a shadow is you have to have light to have the shadow, don't you?
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought maybe if he was in the dark, his shadow was just everywhere.
Imagine he was on like a football pitch where like you have like the 8 shadows around you.
Yeah.
You'd be like a walking destroyer. Yeah. I mean, you'd always win the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just run at the goal.
Run at everybody.
Gone.
The ball gone. No, the ball would be fine, wouldn't it?
Fine. Yeah.
That is. I don't get that though. It doesn't make sense to me that it wouldn't be like just everyday objects.
he's literally just everything's just folding in around him.
The clothes from the people fall into it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it should be like the what? Like if this is a black hole that people are falling into, technically, the world should just collapse into this shadow.
Yeah. As soon as it happened, that's it. This would have been like... Do you remember when they started that Large Hadron Collider?
Yeah, and they was all worried about what would happen.
It might do a big hole.
This is it?
Yeah.
It might do a big hole. You a scientist? You didn't
the world's
tell me.
biggest hole.
This might be a big hole.
But no, they were all worried that they might like create a black hole and it might destroy the Earth. That's what would happen with this guy, yeah. He's got a black hole.
Reality would collapse in on itself.
A dark matter black hole. That sounds scary.
Yeah. So this episode's all bullshit, isn't it?
Shall we just stop?
Let's just stop.
Yeah.
And that's been today's episode of Most of Them. No, we'll carry on.
Verdict bullshit.
I know it's only petty. I know we joke, but it is true.
Yeah.
The science of it doesn't make sense.
It is quite funny though, because I remember us a while back saying you shouldn't let science get in the way of a good story. Yet we've gone full 180 as soon as we didn't like the story too much.
We didn't say you shouldn't let science stop you taking the piss out of an episode.
That's true. That's true.
We are well within our rights to do so.
But again, it shouldn't get in the way of a good story, and
no.
I don't think this was a great story.
No, I didn't. I thought this is a little bit arduous to get through, shall I say. Anyway, Banton at this point is taken to Yeloff Psychiatric Hospital. And the psychiatrist tells Mulder that Bantam insisted on being in a room with soft lights, which we knew he would. Bantam tells the agents that they wouldn't understand what was going on. And he goes on to say that his shadow is like a black hole splitting molecules.
I wonder what that would feel like.
Oh,
yeah.
Would you feel it?
I don't know, because I don't know. Can you feel pain at like an atomic level or something like that? Because I mean, technically, pain.
What a question to ask.
Pain is just electronic signals going from nerves, so it is already atomic at an atomic level, I guess. The notion of pain.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
See, on other X-Files podcasts, they go into like what films Duchovny did since he left X-Files. Yeah. You don't get this. You don't get these deep questions on other X-Files podcasts.
Whether being
Can you feel pain on a molecular level? Subatomic level, actually. Yeah. Fantastic.
Would it be painful to be ripped apart, cell by cell?
I'm going to say yes.
I reckon yes, but very quickly. I reckon it'd be like an intense pain, but in like less than a split second.
In which case, is that really pain?
I don't know. I mean,
wouldn't you? I think it would be... You wouldn't feel it because of shock. And if that's the case...
I mean, answers on a postcard, please. Like whether...
Well, how long does it take to get... for, like, the pain receptors to transmit to your brain?
I don't know. There's a weird thing with this, because I always remember someone describing this. If you bend down and touch your toes, like, with your hand, like, you feel it instantly, like you touching your toe. That's not an instant reaction. It's taking time for the actual, like, touch from your foot, your arm, to both reach your brain at the same time. But your brain sort of slows the one down to match up with it, so you don't go mental, basically.
Yeah.
So, like, your brain wouldn't even have time to register that pain, I guess, if you just gone like...
Because all pain is it's a warning system, really. Yeah. I think you'd be fine. I think we should all do it.
Yeah, let's just rip ourselves up subatomically.
There we go.
Let's do it. That's best way to go.
That's the motto of this podcast.
Jesus. That was went on way too long.
So yeah, he goes on to tell him what his shadow can do, and he explains that he went to see Gail, and as he stood in the doorway, she suddenly disappeared, and that's how she disappeared. And he wants to discover the secrets behind the shadow before they do. And he goes on to explain that they are the government, and he pleads with the government, not the government. He pleads with Mulder and Scully to let him out, because he's got this conspiracy theory that the government are after him because of what he can do, or his shadow can do.
Basically, yeah. He's scared that you mentioned something about a brain sucked, isn't he, or something like
that. Yeah, and he's talking very paranoid-like, so you do get the impression that this could be true, or it could be just the ramblings of a madman. You're sort of in between of what this actually is.
Wasn't sure.
Using words like brain suck, you know what I mean?
When he said brain suck, though, like, you see later on in the episode what that entails, like him having his, like, I guess, memories sort of downloaded, I guess.
Yeah.
I imagined it like Starship Troopers with that bug that just, like, stabs you in the head and sucks your brain out.
Yeah.
I just thought it was, like, literally sucking brain out.
In that big warehouse, there's got loads of brains from other people.
Yeah, I imagined it more gothic, I suppose.
So Detective Ryan, she's now being pressured by her superior, and she instructs Mulder and Scully to stop interrogating the suspect. Bowen asks Bowen, who's the superior, should I say, he asks the agents why they're investigating the case. He's a real hard ass. Like, he's not interested in any of their... He's saying that it seems an open and shut case. They're involved. He's involved. It's obvious he's involved. We found the guy. You don't need to be involved anymore.
I hate it in programs and stuff like this where they're like overly stubborn and they won't listen to the protagonists who clearly have got more knowledge on this than we listen. And they're like, no. And you know it's going to get them killed. But at this point, I just think, well, sod it. You can die.
Yeah,
like, you know, I hate...
Why are they protecting him?
Yeah, it always winds me up when somebody's that stubborn, but I guess, you have to care.
Yeah, you do. You have to care about what you do. Yeah. And Mulder certainly does, because he manages to secretly tell Ryan that she needs to give him soft light to stop him from creating shadows. The episode takes a weird turn at this point because Mulder secretly meets X. He asks about Dr. Bantam, and X, he's being a little bit aloof. He's not really happy with the situation. He doesn't really want to give any answers away. He tells Mulder he can't interfere with the case, and he has nothing to gain from that. He mentions that the last time he got involved, he ended up with a bloody knuckle, referring to when Skinner confronted him. Yeah. And he inadvertently revealed his identity to Mulder's colleagues, which he says he doesn't want to do again. So they sort of, to be fair, Mulder sort of stands up to him at this point. But he basically says he's not going to help, and he walks away. But that night at the hospital, the lights flicker, and then all of a sudden they black out, and X appears from the dark, and he tells the nurse on duty that Bantam has been transferred because of the power outage. But the nurse protests, but X and these two attendants just ignore her completely. They go into Bantam's room, they start strapping him down. Everyone can tell this isn't legit procedure. It's just a straight up kidnap at this point.
Pretty much. At this point, I started to question whether he was actually a good guy or not. I thought, he's doing something that seems quite nefarious, you know what I mean?
Well, this whole episode, I mean, I don't think it changes, really.
No. Especially by the end.
Yeah, exactly. Bantam's pleading with them, but they duct tape his mouth, they zip tie his hands and ankles, and all of a sudden, the emergency generator hits, causing his shadow and two of X's agents fall in and are never to be seen from again. He draws his gun, but he just lets Bantam pass. He's not gonna. Obviously, he can't fight a black hole, can he? You know what I mean? Yeah. So he decides the best thing to do is just let Bantam escape.
Try as he might, he cannot.
The next day, the agents all investigate the scene, and Mulder suggests that there's government involvement, and it's quite obvious that something's happened, and that's how he's escaped. Mulder then tells Scully that Dr. Bantam only wants to control the shadows. He's not trying to hurt people. But he thinks that'll give him a clue as to where he's gone. He thinks he's gone back to the lab to try and find out how to stop this or how to control it.
Or reverse it, maybe.
Yeah. So we now jump to polarity magnetics. Davey comes in and is surprised by Bantam. Bantam instructs him not to turn on the lights and leads him to the particle accelerator. And he asks him to destroy the dark matter, use the accelerator to get rid of his shadow, basically.
Yeah.
At that moment, Ryan walks in, and obviously she's been investigating herself. goes to where he obviously would be, Bantam. He goes to his workplace.
Yeah.
This is interesting because she aims her gun at him, and he doesn't. He has to make this decision because he's not a bad guy.
No.
But then he does use his shadow to his own advantage. Yeah. Like even though he's blaming his shadow for this, he steps ahead and lets the shadow consume Detective Ryan knowingly.
I guess at this point, in his head, he's thinking that if he can either destroy himself and the shadow, it's going to save countless more lives afterwards. So he's sort of weighing up the odds of one person over God knows how many.
Yeah, like a million. You know, I suppose.
Yeah. I think that's... So yeah, I think it's one of those like moral decisions here of, hey, it's like that train.
Yeah, the train that you can get your head around because you kept laughing at a big fat man on a bridge.
It's just the way you described... Let's not get back to that.
No, we don't need to do that. Check out our previous episodes if you want to hear that story.
Which one was it now? It was
it's got to have been like 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah. Wasn't it the one with the death fetishist, I think?
Quite possibly. I don't remember.
Yeah. Just listen to them all, guys.
Yeah, listen to them all and you'll find it eventually. So after this, Barton leads Davey back to the accelerator and asks him to perform the experiment again, but Davey locks him in. And he actually reveals himself to be working for the government. Davey phones a contact to inform him of Barton's capture, but then is immediately shot.
Straight in the head, yeah.
Straight in the head. He falls onto his computer, and X walks in.
When DMX sang the songs X Gon Give It To You, do you think he was talking about X? Because he tends to give it to a lot of people.
He does.
That's two people we've seen be
given it
to by X. I feel
What's the rest of the words? Actually, I just know X gonna give it to you. This is a good experiment. Get the lyrics up,
and we'll see if it.
We'll see if it fits to. What if it gives us spoilers for the final season?
Oh,
we've got to be careful.
Do you reckon he would have put spoilers?
No. So here we go.
Okay, I'm going to have to skip some words.
We didn't think this through. Okay.
So I'll skip the first part because it's just hype.
Yeah.
As people in the rap game know.
Yeah, obviously. And you would know because you're in the rap game.
I am in the rap game. Not too much in the rap game though that I can say everything.
Yeah.
So, X gon' give it to you. Fuck wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' give it to you. Knock knock, open up the door, it's real. With the non-stop pop and the stainless steel. That's what he's done so far.
X gon' give it to you. Yeah. What's the next line?
Fuck wait for you to get it on your own.
Yeah, he's not waiting for Mulder to figure this out. He's gonna have to help him.
Yeah.
X gon' give it to you.
Yeah.
Then what's the next line? X gon' give it to you.
Oh no, it's X gon' deliver it to you. Sorry.
Deliver to you.
Knock knock, open up the door, it's real. This door that he opened.
This metaphorical door. Right. Oh, aliens are real.
Yeah. I thought he meant the literal door of the door that he sealed that guy in.
Oh, you think this is about this episode?
Could potentially be a reference.
It's real, yeah.
With the non-stop pop and the stainless steel, that's obviously the gun.
Well, yeah, and the stainless steel that he falls on the computer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Go hard getting busy with it. He's always busy.
Yeah. He's always busy, yeah.
But I got such a good heart. He's doing it for the greater good, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll make a motherfucker wonder if he did it. He's quite mysterious.
Yeah.
So, we might have to
he doesn't know what, like, Bantam doesn't know whether his shadow did it or not.
That's true.
Like, he thinks it might be him and he doesn't know.
Damn right, and I'll do it again. He's always constantly
doing it. He's giving it to everyone, yeah. Oh, you're nervous on this next line, aren't you?
No. Just the concept. Cause I am right, so I got to win. Break with the enemy. He's in cahoots with the enemy.
This is about X-Files.
But no matter how many cats I break bread with, the cats being the aliens.
And cigarette smoking man.
I'll break who you're sending me. Skinner.
Yeah. Because he does break him, he punches him in the face.
Punches him. You motherfucker never wanted nothing, but your wife said that's for the light day. Maybe Skinner's wife? We have learned about her recently.
Wait, Is X with Skinner's wife?
I mean, that's what DMX is implying. And he's, so far, pretty bang on.
Spot on. I think that's enough of DMX.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Well, let's just go to the chorus, because I feel like this sort of exemplifies X's spirit.
Okay.
First we're gonna rock, then we're gonna roll, then we let it pop the gun.
Yeah.
Go let it go. X gonna give it to you.
That is about this episode.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
So, where was we?
He just got shot in the head.
He shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
And we see X walk out, and we know he's almost done it. Mulder and Scully arrive afterwards, and they find the lab vacant, but the accelerator running. And on the video monitor, they see a seated figure disappear into the shadow stain on the wall, alongside the first. So it's the second shadow stain, and the guy's disappeared. Mm-hmm. Bantam's disappeared. But Mulder reminds her the chamber is sealed from the outside. So whoever was in there has been locked in there, not the other way around. Mulder calls X again, accuses him of lying.
Yeah.
And basically turns around and says, I don't want to see you anymore. Like, stands up to him, which I liked. I like this scene. And
this is in this like location that we've seen that he met with him before. This big open warehouse or whatever it is. Like it looks like an arena or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but I still want to know where this
looks like a derelict building, doesn't it?
Where is this? That's what I want to know. Maybe we'll find out as we go on.
But yeah, he completely breaks contact with X because he said he doesn't trust him. Mm-hmm. But before he leaves, X tells Mulder that he didn't actually kill Bantam, and we see a funeral being held for Kelly Ryan, the detective, and Mulder notes that Christopher Davey has been missing since Bantam's apparent death, and suggests that Bantam wasn't the one who was killed in the particle accelerator, that maybe Davey was the body they saw.
Mulder looks very cool in his shades here, by the way.
He does, yeah.
And he's making an appearance in the
next
next
starts
episode.
Wearing them more often.
I'm liking Shades Mulder.
Mulder.
This would definitely be the accessory to his action figure, and I mean, we do know listeners have Mulder and Scully action figures. Does he have these sunglasses accessories?
Yeah, we need sunglasses accessories on this one.
We need to know.
And I want to know what accessories does he come with in general. I'm assuming it would be a gun and an FBI badge.
That's what I thought. Yeah, gun badge. And maybe, do you know you always get, like, in action figures, you get, like, that one weird, like, thing that you go from one, like, episode or something. Maybe, like, so Scully would get, like, an alien embryo or something.
Yeah, like the canister.
Yeah. He would get, maybe, like, like, Toombs' arms stretching out of a what's it called, a vent or something? A vent,
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
That doesn't seem that good.
No.
It's got to be something else that he's used.
What else has he done? He's done a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. His glasses. We'll say his glasses. And yeah, the episode ends with X as he enters the facility, and we see Dr. Bantam being basically sort of restrained into like this sort of, it's very Clockwork Orange-esque.
Yeah.
He's being restrained into this chair, and he's having experiments done to him.
Yeah, this mind suck by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Really bleak ending.
Yeah,
really
again, it reminded me a lot of Clockwork Orange, the experiments they do on him. It's this sort of similar type of, with Bantam just looking helpless.
There's a film, I can't say too much about it because it'll spoil the actual ending. There's a film called Brazil, that, where the ending to that is similar, I guess. And it also leaves you with this, just like a sigh at the end where you're like, but that kind of.
I think the first thing we need to discuss before we sort of talk about what we think about the episode is this is a real indication that X is not a good guy.
Yeah, definitely.
He can't give it to you.
He did.
That's what X does.
That's what X does famously. Now twice on the trot, and he's given this black hole man to the government. So he's gone give it to them. Yeah, he's gone give it to them. Yeah, exactly. You know, every time we see X now, it's like we're gonna do it. I'm just gonna have gone give it to you. We've created. Surely this is a meme out there somewhere. We must not be the first people to. Yeah, that's a good point. But then again, I'm pretty sure didn't X Gon Give It To You come out in like the early 2000s? Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I'm not part of the rap game like yourself. Obviously. Yeah. I'm more of the country circuit. Okay. That's how you knew that Duchovny song.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I think at this point we really, really can't trust him. And maybe this is sort of like an indication as to, do you know how they started setting up that seed that Deep Throat was playing both sides?
Yeah.
Maybe this is a continuation of this because X is his, he didn't say superior, but he said like he worked for
His
Deep Throat.
advocates.
Yeah, basically.
Who he advocates for.
Yeah, so maybe this is sort of like playing into that story that they're sort of doing stuff to sort of stay on side with the government, but also are trying to leak stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sort of is in a grey area, I suppose.
So, but in general, what did you think about the episode?
I thought it was a cool premise for like the actual like science behind it. I thought the ending was quite ballsy that it was so bleak of an ending. I thought it was really, really dark in how it ended it. Other than that, not a lot really to comment on it. It's the first episode in a long while that I've come away from disappointed. It was a bit flat, to be honest. I felt like, yeah, as you mentioned before, it was a bit of a slog to get through this one. I felt, despite, like I said, the premise actually being an interesting one.
Yeah, much the same opinions, and I feel like it gets boring when we have the same opinions. I think the thing
I loved it.
Well, the reason why we wanted to do a podcast and the reason why we like doing this is because what gave us the idea was the fact that we've always sort of seen eye to eye on what we watch, and we tend to have a similar opinion on sort of genres and TV and films that we like. So that, I suppose it's to be expected that we have the same opinion on a lot of things.
I do still think we differ on like stuff that we like more or less.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think to be honest, like I can't imagine there's too many episodes that are massively polarizing. The ones that are, I think you either have to pick a side, and we tend to pick the same side.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just thought this one was a bit boring, to be honest. Yeah. It was a cool premise, but then it was never really used. Like, I don't know. Like,
there was no real mystery to it as well, because we said, like, at the beginning, they pretty much told you, oh, it's an evil shadow, basically, is the villain.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go from there, apart from learning how it happened, when really that just strips the mystery away from it. Like, as soon as you find out what actually caused it, it's like, oh, it's a science experiment gone wrong. And
yeah, exactly.
I don't know, it sort of...
The only thing that really brings it back is the government conspiracy at the end.
Yeah.
But...
I like the time to
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed that bit, but I don't think it was enough to save the episode for me. It was an all right episode, nothing to shout about, really.
No, that's what I thought.
So should we get on to the next segment?
What's the next segment? What?
Well, you'll put the music in now, won't you? You go and what's the next segment, and then the music will come in. Oh, for God's sake.
Luke's production notes.
Prior to writing this episode, Gilligan, as in Vince Gilligan, who had long been a fan of the show, learned that his agent was a relative of series creator Chris Carter.
Ooh.
Thanks to this connection, he was allowed to meet Carter. During this meeting, Carter asked Gilligan if he had any episode ideas, to which he quickly noted that he had been observing his shadow and thought it would be creepy if he began moving independently. Carter asked Gilligan to develop a script based on the idea as a freelance project, although when the episode was finished, this is possibly a spoiler for later on, but I think we already know anyway, Carter offered Gilligan a job as a permanent writer.
Yeah, I did already. I mentioned that earlier in the episode.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, interesting. I always find them, when you hear about like ideas of how the idea of episodes are done, it's always so goofy.
Yeah.
Like, it's always like, oh, I was at a coffee shop and I looked at my tea and I was like, what if the world was tea?
I am really looking forward to that episode.
And then director hears this idea and goes, run with it. Yeah. And it's like, it's always so goofy.
I feel like script writing is just egging each other on to do weirder stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And then somebody takes it too far and you go, no, that was rubbish. Let's scale it back a bit. Yeah, who knows? Script writers, get in touch. The episode was thus one of the first episodes to be written by someone from outside the main writing staff of The X-Files.
But then he does become. Apart from the main writing stuff, I suppose. So
I suppose, yeah.
I'm not. I mean,
it's the easy way in.
I know because he's gone on to do quite a few things, hasn't he, Gilligan?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
the biggest
yeah.
one, isn't it? Yeah. So
That's his big success.
Yeah, that's 2 Breaking Bad alumni that we've had in this.
Who was the other one?
That guy from the F. Mascular episode, the cop, the marshal.
Oh yes,
The marshal.
His name escaped.
Hank, was he?
Hank from the Breaking Bad. I can't remember.
The character, the actor's name.
It'll come to me later.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've noticed this a lot. Like, I've been rewatching Game of Thrones recently, and I'll talk about Game of Thrones first. So I've been rewatching Game of Thrones, and every now and again I'll see directed by David Nutter or directed by who was the other one I saw the other day? I can't remember the exact name.
Yeah.
But I keep recognizing X-Files names in credits for stuff.
Yeah.
And recently, I know we both watched the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And in that, it's the executive producer of the entire series is Glenn Morgan.
Yeah.
I was like, hang on a bit. And
it seems like after the X-Files, they sort of became the darlings of the TV land.
I know we tweeted as well, I think it was yesterday or today or something like that, about Alex Kerchak. Plays a role, not Alex Kerchak, but the actor
who plays
a role in Twilight Zone. And I do think that X-Files must have been like the first stepping stone to what TV is today. You know, now the juggernaut that it is today.
Oh yeah, it's definitely had a lot of influence. We've talked about that before, haven't we? How much it's influenced pop culture.
And I think that these writers and stuff that got their big break here, and now we're just making bigger and better things. And now, like, well, as everybody knows, TV's as big as films these days.
Yeah,
I think the budget for like Game of Thrones season 8 is
ridiculous.
Is mental. I think the only thing that outstretches that is like Marvel films.
Yeah.
But then again, that's its own kind of juggernaut. So it is interesting how this definitely felt like the genesis of those bigger projects, I suppose. But anyway, originally the script called for Banton's shadow to be able to move independently. Carter and writer Howard Gordon rewrote the story to remove this aspect, which ended up saving an enormous amount of money in animation costs, according to Gilligan.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's easy.
And I think that'd have been too goofy.
Yeah, it'd have been a bit hokey if the shadow started actually moving on the floor. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was in Naruto. So, if you've got something like that...
Not a good sign, is it?
Yeah. After reading the first draft, Carter also felt that Banton's fear of having the government control him should be more than just paranoia. He thus wrote X into the story. Writer Frank Spotsnitz later noted, it had been a long time since X had done anything, and the character really needed to grow.
Yeah, I thought that was the most interesting part of the episode.
I like that they got that in there as well. Yeah, so it ties it in.
And they're doing that a lot more often now, where they're sort of just giving a little hint of the mythological story arc in the Monster of the Week, so it ties all together.
Yeah, recently we had Cigarette Smoking Man and Skinner in something
exactly,
that wasn't related to the wider story. So yeah, it's always good to see. Gilligan himself inserted a reference to the villain Eugene Victor Toombs from the first season episode.
Yeah, we spotted that.
In his conversation between Ryan and Mulder. It's interesting that he put that in there because he saying earlier on that he's a fan of the series. So
yeah,
I guess he's.
I like that.
Just wanting to put these little nudges in there. The episode guest stars Tony Shalhoub, I think that's how it's pronounced, as Dr. Banton. Shalhoub, who had a recurring role on the NBC series Wings, was not familiar with the X-Files when he was offered the part because of, at the time he did not watch much television. That's weird.
Yeah.
That an actor would not watch much TV, but I suppose sometimes they act for stage or something.
Yeah.
I suppose. However, after reading the script for Softlight, he enjoyed the story due to its Twilight Zone-esque nature. Again, another mention of Twilight Zone in this. Just before we carry on, we both watched Twilight Zone, didn't we?
I watched the first 2 episodes, yeah.
Yeah, I think we both thought that, I think you enjoyed it, didn't you?
I enjoyed it. I felt a little let down, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I just thought, because, I think Twilight Zone and X-Files are so closely linked anyway.
Yeah.
They're very sort of... I think they're the sci-fi juggernauts of their time.
Yeah, definitely.
At least on TV. And I don't know. I felt like it was a good program. Both episodes that I watched were good. The first 2, I felt like it was enjoyable. I just don't feel like it had the substance a Twilight Zone episode should have.
Do you know what? I feel like that's more because of like what it's become than what it was. You know what I mean? Like if you watch like the original episodes, I do feel like they feel quite like the ones that they're doing now, but because we've had however many years to sort of like think on those, I reckon the hype behind it has become quite a lot. But I don't know.
I don't know. I think you look at Black Mirror, who is doing a more than acceptable job at that genre.
Yeah.
In fact, it's doing an incredible job. Where the whole point of Twilight Zone was it was this sort of socio-political statement that he couldn't make without sci-fi. He would mask his opinions and views in sci-fi. Stellman was it? The original writer?
Rod Sterling. But then again, most of it was written by other people. I know, like, Richard
but like, I'm just talking about like the original type one.
Yeah.
And Black Mirror is doing the exact same thing now. And I just like if you look at the second episode, which is Nightmare at 30,000 feet, which is obviously like a homage to Nightmare at 20,000 feet. Which now, if you look at like Shatner's 20,000 feet, that whole episode, it's hokey. It's got its charm and whatnot, and I get it.
I think that's more based because of Believe What's It though.
Well, of course, yeah, and they're very comparable, but like it had an undertone. Like the whole point of the episode was like the complete non-understanding of mental health and the unacceptance of it, and obviously it ends up being like the monster on the wing ends up being real, but like they've carted him away and they've not understood him. They've sort of almost disbelieved him because of his mental health, and they had that message behind it. I just don't feel like this had that message. Do you know what I mean? Like I just felt it was a what if episode. What if, like what we was talking about the tea. Like the shadows, like we were talking about Gilligan. What if shadows could move, and we'll see what happens, and that's perfectly fine. I just don't feel like that's what I watch a Twilight Zone episode for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, and I've by no means written it off. I've heard that out of the 4 that's been released to the press, Rewind, the next one, is by far the best.
Oh, really?
So I'm really looking forward to that one.
I thought The Comedian was supposed to be the best one, but yeah, I didn't know.
I mean, I might have read a different article.
I quite like The Comedian, to be fair, though.
I mean, it was
I
alright.
think that was better than the second one, but yeah. But yeah, no, I suppose the good thing with like Twilight Zone and like I mentioned this off air about anthology shows is it's sort of like wait for the next one as well. It's sort of like, well, I mean, you can sort of, if something doesn't hook you, there's no commitment to stay, and also if you didn't like one, the next one you might love.
Yeah, exactly. And at the moment, the performances are great.
Yeah.
And I'm really loving Jordan Peele as the narrator. I think he's fantastic.
He's brilliant in it, yeah.
And in general, I'm liking seeing the cameos they've got, and like they've got a lot of. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen any of them, but they've got a lot of callbacks to previous Twilight Zone episodes.
I loved on the bit. This is a slight spoiler, I guess, but there's a part in the second episode where they're on a beach. I love the what's it, the doll, and I was like, oh, I love it.
There's the mannequin in the first episode as well, and the comedian.
Mannequin?
Yeah, like the sort of the puppets.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he's in one of the
I'll have to
changing rooms. So I like that, and it's great performances. I'm definitely sticking with it for now. I just,
see.
I don't think it's right up there as for me at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's good. It's good.
Sorry, we took a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, we did. Sorry.
Well, I mean, he spoke about Twilight Zone.
Yeah, he did. We might as well jump into it. I'd definitely say it's worth a watch for anyone listening, especially if you like X-Files.
Yeah,
it's definitely got that vibe to it.
Yeah, and like I said, like we mentioned, it's got a lot of the staff working on it, so you might like it for, you might notice the sort of similar threads in it, I guess. But anyway, we'll just wrap up with these last few now then. When Shelob informed people that he had secured a part in the X-Files, he claimed that the response was unbelievable. So
everyone else was watching X-Files, it's just him.
Just not him, yeah, apparently. Shelob was impressed with the on-location filming that the series did. He noted 99% of our filming on Wings is done on a soundstage, while most of the X-Files is shot on location in and around Vancouver. It's an ideal city because it gives producers so many options. That's a good point, actually. Like, I think TV TV before this had tended to be on sets, whereas this was like the first sort of show that was on location quite a lot. So
I always find it very strange. Well, not strange, but I always find it very interesting, the locations people decide to use. Because you hear about Canada being used a lot for movie sets, and that's because it's got such a variety of locations. And here in the UK, you actually find, especially the BBC, they actually use Wales and Cardiff to film a lot.
Yeah.
It does simply come down to the fact that you've got that city location, you've also got 2 miles down the road, the country location, you've also got the beach down the road, you know what I mean? You've just got such a variety of locations, and it just makes the whole production cheaper.
Cheaper and easier. And, Both the Pacific Central Station and the Pacific Marine Training Institute in Vancouver, studying for the train station featured in the episode. Initially, the Pacific Marine Training Institute would only give the series permission to film after 5 p.m, but the show's producers eventually talked to the dean of the station into letting production begin at 2 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Pulling some strings. Do you reckon he was a fan as well?
Maybe, you never know. I suppose
as long as he can get an autograph.
The longer you go on, though, the more pull you have on stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Exactly. You sort of build up a camaraderie, I suppose. Because he was a fan of the series, Gilligan travelled to Vancouver and video recorded the filming of Soft Light. I wonder if that's in like an extras or something like that.
I would be very surprised if it's not.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it.
Very, very good. I think we've got a little bit of feedback we get through. I think we're running a little bit late, so we'll just touch on a few of them, and we can always read some at a later date.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll start us off. Obviously we had our character bios last week, which we recorded episode 50 before they came out, so we're having sort of response to those at the moment. And people seem to generally really like them, to be honest with you. Kathy got in touch and was told us that she's really enjoying the character profiles, and she particularly liked the insights about the lone gunman and loved the idea that each of them represent Mulder's characteristics, but exaggerated. I think that was the point that you made, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's just an accidental sort of observation,
well,
really.
It works when you look into it, and she does go further and mention that Langley, she thinks, is Mulder's paranoia, which, again, would definitely work. Now that I look at it, it's like, that absolutely
that
fits.
Works much better than the idea that I think we had at the time.
We also had a couple of tweets about the episode of Kalasari, and Ray got in touch and she said she liked this episode a lot. She also says that we was asking why Charlie's evil twin became stronger and once time sort of manifested himself, and she thinks it's because Golder's no longer around to offer the protection against him, and that's why he gets stronger, and that actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think about that. So as soon as he goes away, he's got room to sort of grow and become stronger. I
wonder if that's more obvious in like a rewatch, because obviously we're watching it and then sort of deciding afterwards. We're sort of watching it and then sort of realising afterwards what that indicates. So maybe the rewatch, that's more obvious, I guess.
Yeah, because you sort of see it from that side of things. And we also had another tweet from Sophia Mines at Sophia Mines, I think it is. She put, guys, this is one of the very few I never rewatch and the only one I really consider dark and scary as hell. And I had the same opinion of that. I thought that was a very well done, very good horror episode. And I think that's it for this week. If we've missed you out, we can always read them out next episode.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we wrap up, I'm just putting a quick sort of poll out to you guys. I noticed I was looking through the numbers and stuff and the downloads. And I noticed that the downloads were sort of higher on like a week or two before the latest episode. And I started to wonder if like people were watching them delayed, or if maybe the pacing of the release was too much, like if weekly was too much. And we sort of spoke about it, but we couldn't really decide whether weekly was better or whether people would prefer it to be bi-weekly. So we just thought it's better to just ask you guys, really. So
definitely.
We were thinking if we just put a poll out there on, I think it'd be on Twitter, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we can put it on Twitter. It's nice and easy there.
Also, if you want to get in touch and let us know on any of the stuff that we've got, email or Facebook, you can do there.
Yeah, all the links are in the bio below the episode.
But yeah, just let us know if you actually prefer the podcast staying weekly, or if you think that maybe bi-weekly is better for as a format. It's more, again, what you guys as fans want. We're happy to keep it weekly. It's just
again, if it's helpful for everyone else to keep up with it, then it's not a problem either, because we can imagine it's a lot of episodes to go. So again, I'm happy to put it out there to the fans.
So you choose basically.
Well, like I said, I think we've gone quite long on this one because of a DMX derailment.
Yeah.
So on that note, I think we should say goodbye.
Yeah.
Have you got any languages to say goodbye to everyone this week, Luke?
Next week, our episode.
Oh, for God's sake! Every time I forget.
The next episode is entitled "Our Town."
Yes, it is. Thank you for saving me.
I have no idea. Again,
yes, you do know it.
I do know. I'm
pretending.
I do know what happens.
We've watched it.
But other than that, no, I don't have a way to say goodbye.
Disappointing.
What are you gonna do?
Disappointing.
Prior to writing this episode,
No, you know what? I know what you're going to do. You're going to leave all that in, and it's going to go off with me going, oh, for God's sake.
yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
He tells Mulder he can't interfere with the case, and he has nothing to gain from that. He mentions that the last time he got involved, he ended up with a bloody knuckle, referring to when Skinner confronted him.
Yeah.
And he says he doesn't, and he inadvertently revealed himself to his colleagues, which he doesn't want to do again. No, Luke. No, I did not mean. He didn't reveal. He revealed his
identity. Yeah.
No, I'm going to do that again.
Okay. No, it's staying him now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.